We are 1 week away, Richard Jefferson, from training camp. That means it is decision crunch time for James Harden and, yes, Damian Lillard. And yesterday on our show, Hall of Famer Mark Spears reported that the Toronto Raptors, they have entered with momentum to trade for Damian Lillard. The two NBA executives told Mark Spears they expect Lillard to be traded before Media Day, which is October 2nd for most teams. And if you don't know, now you know, that is just 6 days away. So we know the preference, right, for Damian Lillard is Miami. He said it over and over again here. But Richard Jefferson, what is your reaction to hearing that all of a sudden, here comes Masai Ujiri and the Toronto Raptors?
You know what I hear? I hear best and final offers are ready. Best and final offers, October 6th. Everybody was talking about Miami. Everybody was talking about all these different teams. Well, Toronto jumped in. And if you know Masai, and if you know what happened with Kawhi and how this man will go all in and build out a team, you know that that's a real threat. They convinced Kawhi to come there and play and go all in and win a championship. Maybe he believes he can convince Dame Lillard also. So, for me, I think this is an alert more than it is to Toronto. I think the Toronto thing is one thing. I think this is alert to every single team that the Blazers aren't playing. Give us your best and final.
As promised, Kendrick Perkins is with us as well as Zach Lowe. So, Perk, who should Toronto be willing to deal in order to get a player of Damian Lillard's caliber here?
Well, it makes no sense to give up OG and Pascal Siakam, in my opinion. I think you got to probably package up Scotty Barnes and the kid Boucher and some picks if they have them. I don't know. I haven't dove too much into those details as far as their picks. But still in all, even if you pair up, Pascal Siakam with Damian Lillard and OG, is that enough, right? Is that enough to get you out of the East? And I don't think so. Like, I still would have Milwaukee and the Celtics above them, along with the Philadelphia 76ers, although they're going through drama. But again, Dame loves to go to places where he, have to grind through things. And another thing about the Toronto Raptors, they don't have Nick Nurse no more. They have a first-year head coach in Coach Darko, who I had with me as an assistant in Oklahoma City when I was playing there. But, that's not Nick Nurse. That's not Nick Nurse. So if I'm Damian Lillard, hey, I'm making them phone calls to Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo saying, hey, bro, what y'all go do? You know where I want to be at, but what y'all go do?
I mean, maybe there's something that I'm not seeing here, Zach, but it just doesn't seem to me that adding Damian Lillard, unlike when Kawhi Leonard was added to the Toronto Raptors, that it's like, oh, yes, here we have a recipe for all of a sudden inner circle contender. Am I missing something?
First of all, the Kawhi comparisons are just off base. It's apples to oranges. It's totally different situations. It's totally different situations, totally different players, totally different context, totally different everything. Now, to Perk's point, the question the Raptors have to ask themselves is this. Given what the price is going to be, if we get Damian Lillard in the door, are we ready from day one to win a championship? And it doesn't look on paper at first glance like, if you assume Anunoby is the main piece going out, that Dame plus Siakam plus Barnes, which is an interesting and strange age range for your three best players,
right,
and Pirtle and whatever's left over is enough. But then you look at the East. You see a little bit of uncertainty in Milwaukee. You see Boston trying to reimagine itself with Kristaps Porzingis. You see Philly just doing Philly things as they always are. And if you get Dame, that means Miami doesn't. And so maybe you don't look on paper like a true blue stone cold lock contender, but you can see a little bit of the vision. And then the next question is, if it turns out we're not good enough, have we traded too much stuff to make the next move to get us good enough? And I think those are two very difficult questions without easy answers. The Kawhi deal was an absolute low-risk, no-brainer for the Raptors. This is not that.
Right.
What? No risk? No. Wait. No risk? No.
What was the risk, Richard?
They let go of DeMar DeRozan. Come on, there's a huge risk. If they don't win that, then Kawhi leaves. Now they lost their future, and they lost anything what they had going in the past. Do not say now, yes, it is different because Kawhi only has 1 year left on his contract. Dame is there for multiple years. But at the end of the day, they're going to try and go all in and convince the player that this is what it is. The difference is, I don't think they're championship ready the same way that that when they got Kawhi, they were championship ready. But there are some similarities. Don't say apples and oranges. It's Monday and I'm grumpy Zach.
It's Tuesday.
Same difference.
It's not Monday, it's Tuesday.
Oh, who else is going to correct me?
Me all show long. Bobby Marks, the adult in the room, is ready to fire up the trade machine for us because, Bobby, what we do not know, right, is the exact framework of what a Damian Lillard deal could look like for Toronto. But what we do know, it was once labeled sort of month to month. The process Joe Cronin said, we will see how this could stretch out. Now it feels like we're in crunch time. It feels like we're in day-to-day. So if you, Bobby, are a member of Portland's contingent of decision makers, what's kind of eating at you right now?
Well, what's eating at me is I have the second youngest roster, and I have 8 players under the age of 23, and I don't want to go into media day with Damian Lillard on my roster. And although Lillard will likely report, I don't want to enter the season with a distraction here. And that's why I've got 2 sets of artificial deadline. Media day to make a Lillard a deal, and October 23rd, which is the last day of the offseason here. Why I say the 23rd is that's when rosters have to be shrunk to 15 players. It is a lot easier to make a 4-for-1 or a 5-for-2 Damian Lillard trade in the next 2 to 3 weeks right now.
Right. Can you tell me which deals do make sense? Why are these so incredibly complicated?
Well, we'll start with Milwaukee. When you're looking at a player like Drew Holiday, who's got a player option for next year, is entering the last year of his contract, what does he do for you in Portland? That's why you would have to get a third team involved, and is that team willing to give up draft assets? I think Boston is interesting, and I know we talked about him on Monday on the show. I didn't see a Portland-Boston trade because what does Malcolm Brogdon and Robert Williams do for Portland? What happens if we get a third team involved? Okay. And that's where I'm looking at it from the Celtics perspective. So walk me through it here. We're going to send Malcolm Brogdon and Robert Williams to Phoenix. Okay. We're going to send Luke Kennett and Sam Hauser and Jordan Walsh to Portland, right? We've got to get the money to work where we're sending out $40 million in contract. Remember, Boston's got up to 5 first-round picks that they can put in a trade. We're going to send Damian Lillard to the Boston Celtics, and that third team is the Phoenix Suns. And we're going to bring them in and send DeAndre Ayton to Portland. Now, that trade works, and as you can see how complicated it is, that's why you would have to get a third team involved if you're the Boston Celtics.
And look, of all the trades, if you're talking about moving the needle, now defensively, obviously, there's some issue. I like Dame there. I also like Dame in Miami. Those are the 2 places that, again, what you broke down, you're able to keep your core. You're going to spend a lot of money in the next few years, but you're able to keep your core and go all in. And look, given that their fourth quarter game is not the best, if you're asking me in Boston, to have a guy like Dame there, that would be special. That would free up those guys.
Zach?
3 things. Number 1, the Boston deal is problematic because then you have 4 absolutely gigantic long-term salaries on your books at the same time. And Dame, Porzingis, the Jays going forward. Can you afford to pay that? Can you build a team around that? Maybe you can, maybe you can't. Number 2, the biggest mystery around the league right now is, are the Blazers really just going to cut Miami out of this? Are they not going to re-engage with the Heat at the last minute? No one really knows the answer to that for sure, other than the top people on the Blazers, and they're not telling. And number 3, Bobby just mentioned a whole bunch of teams, and that Portland would like to get this done by media day or whatever deadline they have. All these other teams have deadlines too. None of these other teams want to go into training camp with all their players in trade rumors unsure where they're going to be playing, which is why I think we're seeing this push this week, this weekend, whatever it ends up being.
Zach, well said. Well said. You started off slow this morning, right? A little grumpy, but that was well said. Perk, go ahead.
Well, number 1, Zach, yes, Boston is willing to go in because they're a city of champions and it's championship or bust. And number 2, the Portland Trailblazers don't owe, the Portland Trailblazers don't owe the Heat a damn thing. So they don't have to wait on them. They don't have to engage with them. It's on the Heat to start calling and making the best package that they could put available to make sure that they get Damian Lillard. It's not on Portland to make it work with the Miami Heat, to just be honest. And thirdly, Bobby, I actually like that for the Phoenix Suns. We probably would see a Celtic-Suns matchup in the finals if that trade was to actually happen.
Oh.
You get Robert Williams at the center position, who will play his role of Malcolm Brogdon coming in off the bench. Hey, Bobby, I see you in your bag. We haven't even started yet. The season hasn't even started.
Bobby
we still
in
Rydell
his bag.
season, but I love this.
Fine. What day is it?
Yeah.
It is Tuesday. And
Bobby
all
bags.
I'm saying, guys, all I'm saying is that they have 6 days until training camp to figure all of this out. We have 6 days to continue talking about it.
Wanna try to boast at what I look like. Keep them going, try to wear, I pull up long range. Jimmy with the heat, I'm on fire. It's NBA over here, feeling good.